This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
This is not enjoying my morning beer after that Putin news. Did you hear what I was talking about there, Cam? There's actually a dude that's hired to follow Putin around and collect all his crap.
Shit. Yeah, I didn't hear much of the context. I just heard you talking about Putin and shit, and I was like, "What the hell am I coming into?"
Yes. You're coming into a lot of shit. That's what's going on.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Can you get? Yes, it won't be the first time. Can you imagine having that job? I mean,
No.
you're dead after.
I cannot imagine having that job.
And you're dead after that, right? Because he's going to kill you after that. Like he's going to put you away in jail or something after that. It's like that's got to be the worst job in the world, bro.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably pretty high on the list.
Oh, man. All right. So, what are you looking into on this story with Breeze and not Breeze with Peyton and Brady being asked and all that? For me, it's fun fodder, but it's stuff that really never happens. So I don't know how to, I don't know why to waste my time with stuff like this. But how do you view it?
No, I think it's interesting, right? Because everything involving Tom Brady is interesting. But the fact that it didn't happen, I don't know how close it truly got to happening. I had heard like early on in the process, the Dolphins were interested in bringing him in as an executive. I didn't know a ton about the player stuff, but it's also kind of like, hey, I want Patrick Mahomes to be my quarterback. Okay, he's a Kansas City Chief, so like he's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I don't know the logistics of how they would have truly convinced that team to make it work. I think Bruce Arians joked at the combine that it would take 5 or 6 first-round picks for him to even get in a conversation for Tom Brady. So right. The Dolphins don't have that many first-round picks. I just don't know if it ever truly, the logistics of it truly would have happened. But, I think it's fun. I think it creates another storyline next offseason because Tom Brady is going to be a free agent after the season. So does he retire and become part of Dolphins ownership or an executive? Does he try to play one more year for the Dolphins if Tua doesn't work? I think these are all interesting storylines, but because it didn't happen this year, I think it's more of a 2023 thing. So honestly, I'm not doing a lot of backlegging homework to try to figure out how close and what and who, because a lot of those things just had so many strings attached that it made sense it didn't happen.
By the way, if Tua balls out, obviously it won't even be a discussion for player. But if he does come in for ownership purposes, how does Dan Marino feel about something like that?
I don't think that Dan honestly, and I don't know Dan super well, but knowing what I know about Dan, I don't know if Dan wants the work that comes with ownership or being a president. Dan wants to show up at the office when he wants to show up at the office, hang out at practice. Dan Marino doesn't have to do anything, doesn't have to please anybody. So I don't know that he would be bothered much about Tom Brady being in here. So I don't view that at all as a factor. Tom wants to work. Some of these other guys want to work and prove something after their career. Dan has nothing left to prove.
I want to congratulate you because you've been here a short time, my man. You have not been in South Florida for a long time. And I've been saying this for years. When he tried to do the GM thing and he quit within hours, Dan Marino has, I think Dan did it almost out of pressure from fan base and others and all that. That guy has no intention on walking in at 7 a.m. and checking out, 100 DBs on film and trying to break it down or, going out to scout this player or that player. He has no intentions on trying to make trades or any of that. And I know that a lot of the people in the Dolphin Nation have wanted him to be some kind of a, football savant for them.
Right.
He doesn't want to put in the time for coaching or for general manager. It's just that's not in him. He doesn't want to do something like that. He's made his life already. He doesn't need any anymore. You know what I mean?
And let's be real. If I was Dan Marino, I wouldn't want to do shit either. If I made as much money, did as much as my career, I would let my money work for me, have my investments flowing, do my sponsorships, everything I need to do in that realm, and I would play golf every day. That's what I would do if I was Dan Marino. He's going to practice a lot more than I would go to practice if I was Dan Marino. So I don't view any issues with him with president ownership. I think if he wanted those things, he probably would have already kind of went along that venture.
Exactly, exactly, and I think Brady is just—he seems to be like one of those guys that lives, eats, and breathes football. So he might be the kind of guy that really loves to do this kind of stuff, actually
Right.
on a daily basis. He might be that guy. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yep.
you never know. All right, a ugly situation that I'm so glad the Dolphins are not a part of is getting uglier, bro. Deshaun Watson now has shut down his Twitter account. He made it private all of a sudden. And now the Texans are going to be included in these lawsuits now with the Jenny Ventress story coming out and exposing how they were kind of facilitators of some of this stuff. How much uglier is this story going to get, dude?
I mean, it could get a lot uglier, honestly. I mean, the dude, like, first of all, if anybody hasn't read that story from Jenny,
Oh,
you should read it. The New York Times story. It was excellent. Excellent reporting. A lot of stuff, a lot of new stuff, a lot of more details that honestly the Cleveland Browns should have probably did more homework and figured that out before they, traded him and gave him $230 million guaranteed. But they've got to live with it now. They made their bet going to get a franchise change a quarterback, and they got to live with all the PR mess that comes after it. But I mean, if what Jenny's reporting is correct, with 66 different masseuse that he had gone to over a 18-month period, then who's to know that the number ends at 24? There's at least up to 66 that clearly there could be something. So I don't know. If this is going to end, if it's going to
a
get
matter of
worse.
courage. It's a matter of courage for some of these women, man. That's the
Right,
thing.
right. And the reality is, like, the NFL hasn't made a decision on suspension yet. Like, listening to what we're hearing and seeing some of these things come up, you got to imagine at minimum he's getting suspended. But it seems like every case that goes on, it probably increases the amount he's going to get suspended, because whether you like it or not, the NFL is shown that based off the reaction they get on some of these things, that often dictates the punishment they get. So, if it calmed down like it did before some of these more recent cases, then maybe he would have only got 2 games, 3 games. But now, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 6, maybe it's half a season. I see some people speculating it might be a whole season. So I think there's a lot of elements that come in that, and this may not be the end. So I'm glad for the the alleged victim standpoint that it's not going away as a story. But boy, I would not want to be Watson. I would not want to be in Watson's camp, and I definitely wouldn't want to be a Cleveland Brown fan this summer. Kind of when everything about this team, which by the way, they're actually a good football team that probably is a contender to win their division, but all the talk is going to be on Watson in those lawsuits.
Here's my prediction on the suspension. Are you ready? Indefinite. The NFL is going to learn their lesson now, and they're going to go, we can't give them 4 games. That still might linger. We can't give them 8. It still might be around. They're going to go indefinite until everything is resolved. I think that's what's going to end up happening, because it's the only way you get out of the mess if you're the league.
Right.
Is by saying, hey, we're done with you until you resolve your personal issues. You are not going to drag this league into this again, because now you've dragged in the Texans now. So
Right.
now it becomes an even deeper problem now, because now your investigation, now the scope of your investigation now has to open up to the Texans.
Yeah, the
Not,
commissioner exempt list is actually not a bad idea for that. So yeah, I mean, this is just getting started.
yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
this. I don't
We
think
don't
this is
know where
getting
the
settled by
finish
the
is.
season. So the NFL is going to have a decision, because these civil cases don't seem to be getting ready to get settled. Like you said, the Texans are getting looped into this. So this is not going to be something that's probably done by September. So the league is going to have to make a decision to let him play, because technically last year, people forget, he was eligible to play for the Texans. He was not suspended. So he
Right.
chose not to play, and he was inactive, but he got paid. So this year, obviously, if he's eligible, he's going to want to play. So it's going to force the NFL to make a decision before the season. Do they put him on the exempt list? Do they suspend him before all the civil cases are done? Not an easy decision overall, but I think it's going to be a worse look if he's out there week 1, like nothing happened.
All right. So this is a league that has every resource in the world. They have all the money and all the power. So Cam, And listen, I wasn't born yesterday. So are they terrible at investigations? Because every time you tell me, I can point at so many different examples over the years of how poorly they investigated this player or that player because something still came up, something still ended up happening. And when you tell me, oh no, we vetted everything with Deshaun Watson, no, you didn't. So with a team that with all the resources, there are former FBI people that work in this league. So come on, dude. So is it half-ass investigating? Is it is it almost like as cynical as we feel the Ray Rice thing was? Like they knew the video was there, but they thought it wasn't going to get out, so they thought they would get away with a 2-game suspension. And oops, we were surprised by the video. Oh, now he's suspended for the year. A lot of people think that video they knew about it, but they thought it wasn't going to get out. So what is it about it? Are they the gang that can't shoot straight, or are they the gang that doesn't want to shoot straight?
I don't know everything about the Browns investigation, but I think back to kind of a scouting phrase that I hear. That's what I'm saying. I think back to a scouting phrase I hear all the time. If Hannibal Lecter ran a 4.2, they just say he had an eating disorder. And I think that's probably the reality of the situation. Deshaun Watson's a top 5, top 7 quarterback who's in his prime, 25, 26 years old. They probably said, yeah, he didn't do things right. He's not a great dude, but you know what? How often do we get a chance to get a franchise quarterback? And so, like I said, I don't know everything about the organization, but kind of knowing what I know and knowing what we see, it's probably a situation where they did some homework and they were like, we're willing to take our bet. We're willing to take our bet that this guy's going to change our franchise and we'll deal with this as it comes along. And hopefully he doesn't do it again. And to me, that's what it sounds like. And, they're taking their lumps now.
Yeah, because you got Jamarcus Russell, doing the purple drank all the time and all this. And, you still give him that big ass contract. Michael Vick's killing dogs. You don't know anything about it. Aaron Hernandez is killing people in his off time. You have no idea what's going on. It's just, you can't be that bad. You can't be that incompetent. You can't be that stupid. You can't be that naive. You've got to know a lot more than we do. And it happens. And bro, the examples are endless of just stuff that's gone on and they either knew or didn't know or swept it under the rug or whatever it is. But it's just so weird how it always happens for so long. And yet it ends up blowing up in their faces a lot of times.
And I know a lot of security people.
Wait a minute. You got frozen there. You know a lot of security people. What?
I know a lot of security people in the league. And so I know people who are from 4 or 5 different teams who follow me on social media. And so I know that they always have their P's and Q's on of what's going on. So if they're following me and watching my Instagram stories, they know what's going on with Watson and where he is and have people in the street. So I do not.
Oh shoot, you broke up again. On there.
People were just incompetent in their jobs. I think a lot of times you prevent and they do with it what they wish. It's kind of like, the doctor, we go back to Drew Brees. Doctors tell him, hey, Drew Brees, we think his shoulder is not clear. And, you make a decision off that. Another team thinks something different and they make their decision off that. So I think that's the same way with these security teams. They might say, hey, there's going to be some other women out there that he's done stuff to. What do you want to do? And the team might be like, good to know. We're willing to take that chance. And so I think a lot of times that's what you see in these situations.
I'll give you a great story. Several years back, I'm at the combine hanging out with one of my scouts, and I'm talking to him about Ray Malaluga. Dolphins needed a linebacker. He's coming out of USC, and at that moment, it was Cushing with the steroids. This guy, Malaluga, and they had another linebacker there. They had 3 or 4 guys that were really good.
Taylor Mays was coming out that year, too.
Taylor Mays, well, he was a safety. But there was another linebacker. Anyways, they had 3 linebackers that were really good. And so I go to him. So tell me about Ray Malaluga. And he goes, no, hell of a player. Only problem is he's a functioning alcoholic. And so all right, so I'm just a schmuck, big mouth radio guy that I know people in the league and they'll tell me stuff. So he's telling me he's a functioning alcoholic. And sure enough, Ray Malaluga had alcohol issues, still has them probably to this day, unfortunately. And he had him with the Dolphins and everything. And so it shows you that he never, he told me stories about him getting a car and running over parking meters one night, that he was drunk and just like ran over a bunch of parking meters and stuff like that. Like, he told me stories about Ray Malaluga. And I'm like, and then he goes and gets drafted in the first round by the Bengals. And in those days, the Bengals had Henry and a whole bunch of other guys that they took. The Georgia guy that was a really talented guy on the line, and he also was, they drafted all kinds of, people that were questionable. And it's funny because when I tell you this, it's not like they don't know. They know some of these things.
Right.
Think about it. This guy's telling me, yeah, no, we're not going to touch him because he's a functioning alcoholic. So you're going to tell me the Bengals didn't know he was a functioning alcoholic? Right?
Yeah. Well, for the Bengals case in particular, sorry, I'm eating a sandwich here on the middle of my golf break, talking with you, eating a sandwich. But the Bengals have the smallest scouting department in the league. So for them in particular, when they don't know stuff, that might actually be them not doing their homework because they have a small scouting department. But for overall, they're cheap. That's the historical conversation with the Bengals.
You're right.
But overall, like I said, I think that a lot of these things, what are you willing to live with? What are you willing to live with? Like, I hear stuff about prospects in the pre-draft process where I'll talk to scouts and they'll say, hey, we heard about this dude did this, and we put him off our board on that. And so another team may or may not have heard that, but some teams have different levels of what you take a guy off their board for. You're looking at a situation where, hey, guys may have like issues smoking weed, right? Because that was the issue with Tyrann Mathieu. He had got a bunch of stuff smoking weed, and so I knew guys who had taken him off their draft board because of that. And we look at this 10 years later, and we're like, oh man, it's stupid to take him off your draft board because look at him. He's been cleaning the league. He's been excellent. But if he would have gotten the league and got suspended and he was Josh Gordon, everybody would have been like, oh, you should have known. You should have known. He was smoking weed and get suspended in college. What did you think was going to happen? So all these things are not like black and white, but that's why I think you see teams being selective on what they are willing to deal with and what they're not.
Follow him on Twitter at Cameron Wolfe. And, of course, catch him doing his thing in the NFL Network. And you can catch him twice a week here with our KSDT CPA, Miami Dolphin, and NFL Report. Cam, as always, appreciate you, my brother. Hit him straight. We'll back up next week.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
You got it. There you go, Cameron Wolfe.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.